the advanced sort of money mindset kind of things. And I don't think most agencies have built that. We were kind of talking about the fact that like most agencies kind of suck.
It sucked because it was inefficient, and it sucked because I felt like the power dynamic was never in my favor.
How are you able to do this? And he said, well, buddy, basically, I believe in doing stuff once I can get paid for again and again.
And I just got to the point in my career where I was like, what if I only worked on projects where I knew it was going to work?
All these social media platforms, how do you sign up for them? With a fucking email?
Email is a to-do list for someone.
All right. What is up, my amazing, attractive, sexy agency motherfuckers out there building cool shit, kicking ass, taking in names? We've got today Chris Orzechowski, and Chris is an email wizard and came to me super, super highly recommended for the stuff he's doing. We've had a couple minutes here just to talk off air, and we're going to be talking about some of what I think are more the advanced sort of money mindset kind of things. And I don't think most agencies have built that. We were kind of talking about the fact that like most agencies kind of suck. When they're built very traditionally, like they're way too much work for the amount of reward. So anyways, Chris, let's get the pleasantries out of the way. Like, thanks for coming on here and doing this with us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to dive in.
So we were talking, I think the best starting place to go is like, this hurts me like one brother to another, like right in the soul, that so many of our marketing folks don't have email lists. In fact, the vast majority of them are trying to go from cold to sold in a single message, in a single leap and bound. And you know, as a copywriter, not that that is an impossible task, but that is way harder than doing it sequentially in the form of 7, 10, 20, 30 emails. So I wonder if we could just answer the big elephant in the room, like why have an email list at all?
Yeah, when I started, I did the traditional cold email and, that whole game, and that really like sucked. I mean, this was back in like 2014, and this is before you had Loom and you had all these tools that people have today.
Yeah.
And it was like it would take half an hour to an hour for every single individual cold outreach I did. And it sucked because it was inefficient, and it sucked because I felt like the power dynamic was never in my favor. And
Yeah.
so I started looking at I was like, well, what would Dan Kennedy or Frank Kern or these other guys do who like they have clients around the block more than they could ever even take on or would want to take on? I was like, well, what they all do is they get people to come to them and apply to work with them, and they pull people in instead of pushing onto other people. And I was like, that is what I need to do. Now at the time, like no one knew who I was, but I said, if I have an email list, I don't ever have to send another cold email again. I don't have to do all these typical shenanigans that people do. I said, if I have an email list and I can grow it and attract clients, then all I have to do is if I lose a client or I want another client or I want to do another project or I want to buy a car or something, I'll just send out an email and the client will magically appear. And that was kind of like the North Star. So that's what I did. I started publishing like 2016, and I think by 2017 I was emailing daily, and my list started off with 0 people just like everyone else. And I just gradually grew it, and now I'm at the point where I'm almost at 10,000 at the current moment, and I get a lot of clients. Almost all of my business comes from my list, and I just engineered it that way because it's not fun when you don't have clients and you don't have leads coming in. So I said, how do I solve this problem and never have to worry about it again and build an asset for myself?
Yeah. I love that. There's a lot to unpack for folks because, it really blows my mind that so many people are in this marketing business and they're all trying to go cold to sold instead of having an email list. And like you said, the power dynamic is tangible. Like a lot of people don't realize this when you do the cold outreach, the way most people traditional like teach it, that's talked about in our space, where it's like, quick question, do you want to buy my shit? Even when you do get calls, they're like 2 out of 10, 3 out of 10. You can almost feel the folded arms crossed. And I love how you built it now because, I can confirm what you're saying. Like, if I want to make money appear, like we had to, like replace our second car. And so I'm like, what do I need to send in an email to make a new car appear? Like that's what's possible with an email list. And I wonder if you could talk about, because like a lot of people have told me, like, I don't even know what I would say in an email. Like, basically like they think like you pitch them one time and say, this is my thing. And then they don't really know where to go from there. Where do you find inspiration for stuff to talk about? And how do you kind of structure those emails so they're both valuable to people, but also like kind of pull them out? I'd love to hear a little bit about your philosophy on how you even approach writing people.
The best analogy that I could use to describe it is I'm sure most people have probably seen those house flipping shows, like Flip or Flop or all those ones on HGTV, right? And the shows are funny because like really the only reason you watch it is to look at the finished product, but it's like a half an hour, sometimes an hour of them demoing the house and picking out the tile and construction issues and all that stuff. But it's funny when you watch those shows, what you realize is those people are making money from flipping the house, but they're also making money talking about flipping the house, right? So like if we translate that analogy over to what you're doing in your business with your agency clients, it's like you're doing work as an agency already, right? Like you're building SEO campaigns, you're doing paid traffic or launches or copy or branding or whatever it is you do, right?
Yeah.
You're just not talking about it. You're not getting paid to talk about it. So
Yeah.
if you just start walking people through, like as if it was your own house flipping show and be like, yeah, the client was experiencing this issue. So we decided to test blah, blah, and blah. And, we did this thing and it worked. And I think the reason why it worked is blah, 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 blah. Like what you're doing is you're doing work once and getting paid twice for it. And you're also demonstrating your expertise because you're showing people how the sausage is made. Now, not everyone necessarily cares about that, but they want to know that you know how to do it, right? So it's a demonstration. Like Gary Bencivenga talks about, like the most powerful form of proof is a dramatic demonstration.
Yeah.
So with my list, what I try to do as often as possible is just take people behind the scenes and show them stuff that I'm doing, or show them campaigns that I built, or show them the finished product and like walk through what went into it in the thought process. So that way they might not buy right then and there, but at least they're like, that's the dude. When I have this problem, that's the dude I'm going with. And that's all I do. I mean, I'll write emails about other things going on in my life, stories, funny things that happened, but it's always anchored in how do I do the work once and get paid twice from that work that I did.
I love it. That's literally the big idea of my next book is like, I had a mentor say that to me many years ago. Shout out to Ken Hardison if you're listening. And Ken said to me, I got to hang out with him in South Carolina, and here's a dude who he owns a really successful law firm. He is a minor partner in 4 or 5 local businesses. He owns a major industry association, a coaching program, and I never saw that motherfucker work. Like I was like, Ken, like we're on the boat now, we're going to karaoke, now we're going to the country club. Okay, we're having lunch, but like, where are you growing the business here? And it blew my mind. And what he had was, in a word, leverage is what you just described. And I said to me, like, how are you able to do this? And he said, well, buddy, basically, I believe in doing stuff once I can get paid for again and again. And when he said it, it hit me like a ton of bricks, because I realized I had a lot of active income. I had a lot of do kind of work hard, but like it was all do once, get paid once variety. And if I stopped doing it, like there would be no residual of any kind. Like even my recurring agency clients, if I stopped doing stuff for them, they would cancel as clients and it would all go to zero. And I realized I was, super, super vulnerable. And that became like a kind of a mantra of mine. And then you said something else that I kind of refer to as kind of like document, not create. Is like a lot of times if you think you have to create stuff, you don't know what to do. But if you're just doing stuff and then you just document it as you're doing it, that's the content. And like you said, like, you mentioned SEO, like there's endless things to document. Google had an update today. Like website is down, we had to fix this issue. Like there's just endless number of things. And then all the, objections and reasons they have not to believe you, including like I've been burned by 27 other agencies before you and things like that. But I love that you think about it, that as a do once, get paid twice. I wonder if we could actually just for a second take a little detour and dive into a little bit of that mindset, because I believe that at its core, that is the wealthy mindset in a nutshell, which is you're creating leverage by do once, get paid twice. And you're also kind of like renting access to your assets again and again. And it's your tools, it's your emails, it's your swipe file, it's those things that are creating the value, not necessarily Chris personally, what I would call like digital Chris. And I always say, like, I want the hardest person working in my company to be digital me. I don't want to work that hard personally. I want digital me to be a 24/7, 365-day closing beast, but I don't want real Frankie Finn to have to work that hard. I wouldn't even know what to do. These are computer hands. These are not like construction hands. But I wonder if you could just dive into like where you got that mindset, how you kind of approach it, because I don't think enough people talk about this. And it's like, to me, it's like actually the most important thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been on so many sales calls over the years. I mean, I've been on at least 1,000 sales calls with potential clients, and have spoken to thousands of other ones just via email and social. And You just start to realize that everyone has the same problems,
Yeah.
at least within a specific industry or a specific level, right? It's almost like predictable. It's almost like you get to the point where you can do a sales call in your sleep because you know what they're going to say. I
Yeah.
mean, 95% of it's all the same with 5% variation based on brand or product or price or whatever. But everyone tends to have the same problems. So what I realized was like, okay, well, if everyone has similar problems, that I wanted to do. People, there's that phrase, to the man with a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. People always look at that phrase with like a negative connotation. But I have a hammer in my hand, and my philosophy is I'm just going to go find more nails. I'm not going to look for screws. I'm just going to go look for more nails, right? Like that's all I'm going to do because I know that this hammer works. It's very good at this specific job. And as long as I just keep, I mean, the analogy breaks down obviously at a certain point, but like as long as I keep finding nails that I can use my hammer on, A, I'm never going to run out of leads, and B, I'm going to know exactly how to solve the problem. I'm not going to have to think about it. Like, I don't like going into, I mean, I've been called in for a lot of clients with very complex funnels and crazy, marketing schemes going on. And those are oftentimes the least fun because there's the highest chance of risk. And, there's a high chance of reward sometimes, but there's a lot of risk going in. And there's times when, a client will bring you in for something crazy and it's like, you don't know if it's going to work. And I've just got to the point in my career where I was like, what if I only worked on projects where I knew it was going to work?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what
Yeah.
if I just removed that whole uncertain variable and said, well, I've done this 50 times. It's worked every single time. Maybe there's a 1% chance it doesn't work for some weird thing that happens, right? But 99% of the time it's going to work because this is a problem. This is a nail and this is a hammer. And I know that I could bang the nail with my hammer, right? So a lot of people don't do that though. And they have these businesses or they have these agency services where they're kind of reinventing everything from scratch. And it's not a real business if only one person has the problem. You know what I mean? Like it's just not it's not product market fit, right? Like you need to find product market fit with the service, and that's finding a problem that you could solve at scale for multiple people who are always experiencing this problem. And if you don't have that, then you don't really have anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, and I can confirm what you say. Like for me, how that what you described showed up is, I've also done, definitely more than 1,000, probably a few thousand sales calls over like 2 decades, and I remember, when I first started working with attorneys, they would say, hey, they get on a call and say, I just need more clients, and I'd say, well, like, tell me about that, like, and they would say, well, I have roller coaster income, and I'd say, what do you mean? And they'd say, well, I get all my business from referrals mostly, like 80% of it comes from referrals. And I have, this number of partners, and some months they refer me $100,000 in business, but other months they send me nothing. And so I don't really know whether tomorrow is going to be $100,000 a month zero. Should I be scaling and hiring a team to help me out with fulfillment? Or should I be conserving money and trying to like be able to pay my electricity bill? I don't really know. And so I have this business I have like no control over, and it's driving me crazy. And then you get on a call and then you hear, I need more clients, all dependent on referrals, roller coaster. And you like literally hear the same thing like 20, 30, 40, 50 times in a row with slight variations. One person says, I need 5 clients, one says 10, but like it's the same basic conversation. And what happens is after a while, you sound almost like a mind reader where you can be like, Chris gets on a call and says, hey, I just need more clients. And I'd say, hey, Chris, can I just ask you a question? Do you need more clients because you have roller coaster income, because you get all your business from referrals and you have between 3 and 6 referral partners, and those referral partners send you a bunch of business some months and other months nothing. And so you have this business you have no control over. Some months you get a whole bunch of business and other months you get nothing. And should you be scaling and hiring, or at the end of the day, you just want a business you have some control over and some lead flow you can actually like do intentionally? Does that sound like you? Like he's pretty much bought and sold before I finished that sentence. And it's just like you said, like, this idea that everybody, like, I think a lot of times we overvalue our ability to solve problems. And I say, like, that's a middle class thing. Like when I was an engineer, I got hired to like go fix a problem and go solve a custom problem. And this machine's not working. Not that I was any good. I didn't know how to fix shit, but that's what they paid me for. As where I like what you've said is like, if there's a market fit at all, like more than one person has this problem, and chances are like we can create tools, resources, and systems where it's literally a slam dunk. You're like, I've already got the solution. The hammer is done. Just say go and I'll knock it down. Right. And like you'll have your new deck or your new fence or whatever it is they're trying to do with it, is like you're really selling the same thing again. And I kind of compare that process to McDonald's when they were first scaling. Like when McDonald's first scaled, they're not what you know them to be today. They were just a burger place, and that's all you can get. They even fries and a Coke came later. In the beginning, it was just burgers, and so like like they were pretty much finished the burger before you walked in the door, right? Like you may want to personalize it a little bit and get a little extra onions or hold the onions, or maybe I don't want mustard or ketchup. For the most part, like they have a finished thing before you showed up. And so they know it's going to work. And it's a pretty predictable outcome. You're going to eat the burger and you're going to go, hey, like at least in the beginning, before it became this like massive factory thing, people tended to like them and it was super quick. So they knew what that outcome was going to be. So I love that I almost think it takes a level of discipline to scale back the exciting things and the new entrepreneurial ventures and just go, I'm just going to sell this one boring, predictable solution again and again. Because I don't know about you personally, but there's a desire to want to create something new or solve some new problem and not just like get really good at solving one boring problem again and again. I don't know how you feel about that, but I almost find it hard
Yeah,
to.
well, but it is, but at that point you hire someone do you hire someone who gets excited about solving that problem
Yeah.
over again? And like I've gone through this in my own business. So I'm like a 9 quick start. I love just like ideating, doing something, getting something launched. I mean, that's how my Twitter agency started. I was like really excited about it and then kind of spun off a side agency to do just that. And it's still exciting, about 9 months in, 10 months in, whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, we as entrepreneurs and leaders and founders often get bored of the solution faster than our clients do or faster than some of our team does. So
And
it's
get
just a matter
bored
of finding.
talking about it.
Yeah, it's like, I even like when I write emails to my list, I'm like, man, I can't believe, someone's still asking this question, but like for that person, it's brand new, so it is exciting for them. So you could turn into an automation. You don't have to talk about it anymore. And the automation talks about it, right? Or the asset or the sales page or the video or the team member that you have who is jazzed up about this stuff. So that's the hardest part, is just keeping the blinders on when you have something that's working and just finding other things in the business that excite you, that pull you out of the deliverables and get you into like the founder operator chair, the person who's building the business rather than doing the stuff in the business. And that's what I found.
Yeah. Agree with everything you just said. And want to shift gears here just a little bit. One of the things that I found is I believe like an email, like kind of where we started, the email list is like literally the most valuable asset you have in a business, because a YouTube following, they can close your account. A Facebook can change an algorithm, your reach goes to zero. A Twitter can decide you said something against the community terms and you're suddenly terminated. And even a cold email strategy that works, like, can be copied 10,000 times and over time not work because marketers ruin everything. And to me, an email list is the only thing that transcends this. And remember, Perry Marshall said this to me like a decade ago, that like an email list is literally the most important thing you own in your entire business. And I wonder if you could just share a little bit about just that, about how important an actual fucking email list is and like why it changes. Because it boggles my mind that we have so many marketing people listening to this who do not own and control their own email list. When to me, it's like it's literally the most important asset in many ways, at least most important marketing asset in your entire operation. And it's the one thing that cannot be so easily taken from you. And then I would also add that like, all these social media platforms, how do you sign up for them? With a fucking email. They're all still based on email, even though we have more emails than we've ever had. At the end of the day, like all of these social media and things are still run off of email. And ultimately that's where people still, find information and check things. And like, it's like kind of your own personalized feed. Anyways, I'll let you talk about it because I could rant on it for an hour.
Yeah, I mean, the two biggest things, and I agree with all that. The two biggest things I think for me is like, number one, like email is a to-do list for someone, right? Like
Yeah.
that's how people, like I know I organize, even though I probably shouldn't. Like I'm like, oh, I got to answer these emails, or I got this, even if it's like, oh, I want to buy a pair of jeans from this brand who emailed me, I like leave it in there until I complete the task, right? And like, so you have the ability to drop decisions to be made on someone's to-do list, which is a really cool thing, that dynamic. And the other thing too is like it simply comes down to data that you own versus data that you don't own, right? And you kind of touched on this. Like you've already paid the acquisition cost at it could have been 10 years ago you paid the acquisition cost to get that subscriber on your list, but that acquisition cost has already been paid. You don't have to go and pay an additional acquisition cost to market to that person. Any other platform that you use, whether it's an affiliate relationship, whether it's buying ads on X or on Meta or on Google or on YouTube or whatever, or it's any kind of in-person thing, there's always going to be some kind of cost attached to that because you don't own that data. It's your list or it's someone else's list, right? So the greater the size of your list and the deeper relationship you have with those people, you are acquiring customers and repeat business for no cost. And I think the best business in the world engineer ways to reduce their customer acquisition cost. You think about like The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, right? Like he launched a tequila brand and a personal care brand. He doesn't have to pay a customer acquisition cost. I mean, I'm sure they advertise and things like that, but like everyone knows who he is. He has millions of followers.
Yeah.
He's already acquired those customers. And granted, like maybe they're not all in an email list, but he's already has the hearts and minds of those people. And like that's really what you want. Like email is the best way, I think, to develop that, especially for people who are smaller. That's how you capture the hearts and minds of the people you want to market to. And once you own the right to market to those people without having to pay the acquisition cost, that's where it gets easy. Because there's brands out there. I mean, especially like in e-commerce space, you might have to pay as much as 50% of your AOV to get a sale from a customer. And it's like, how much easier would your business be if you didn't have to pay that cost to make a sale? And that's what it really comes down to.
Yeah, we got a screaming toddler in the background, which I wanted to ask you about that as well, because I know you got kids, so you can relate to my struggle. I was muting myself there because this is real life over here. I wonder if you could talk about, like, to me, the real benefits of everything you described, which is ultimately, in a word, leverage, is that you're able to send an email, create outcomes, and as a result of that, like, it really, like, in some days, it's literally like 10, 15 minutes, write an email, and then if you want to, you're done for the day.
Yep.
You've checked your most important box, and then you can go play with your kids and hang out and do, to me, what the real important parts of it. I wonder if you could just share a little bit about your experience, how you kind of balance the dynamic of, being a parent and then, using these kind of tools and how they kind of,
I mean,
support that.
That's exactly what I do. Like I wake up, I write my email, and then I'm like, all right, let's go for a walk, or I'll take him to school, or we'll do an activity or something. I mean, like, last Friday I took my son to the arcade, and that was what we did in the afternoon. And, but I wasn't worried because I was like, my email went out, sales are being made, and inbound requests are flowing in, and I'll deal with all that stuff later. But I created an asset for myself because that email could be reused, it could be repurposed, it could be turned into an automation, it could be turned into an ad. So I created something that's going to not only make me money today, but continuously make me money. And I'm doing the same thing tomorrow and the same thing next day. And over time, it's like, you've seen the compounding interest charts. It's like, when I first started my email list and I didn't have any subscribers and made zero money from it, like it really sucked. But after a while, just hockey sticks, because if you just continue to do it, that's what happens, right? Like the list can grow and grow and grow. It's not, my time to write that email is not going to increase. My time remains static, but the bigger my list is, the more exponential the income becomes. And if you find ways to engineer that, that's how you get really wealthy, right? You get wealthy because you have an exponential increase in revenue and profits, but the time that it takes to create that stays static or even decreases over time. And if you create automations, it will decrease to zero.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, my dude. Especially too, because I think a lot of people think, I mentioned my thing one time, therefore, who's going to want to hear it a second time? And there's like, there's the fact that 70% of people probably never even saw your email. It might have been in the promo tab. There's the fact that they may need to hear it 10 times to get it. Just, this may be a subject that you have deep subject matter on, like you're emailing about SEO. You probably know way more than the person you're sending a message to about SEO. And so they need to hear it a few times, and there may need to be analogies, and they have all kinds of questions and stuff like that. And I think not enough people realize you got interesting shit to say. So say it and use it and build it. We're actually, just a little shout out, like we're actually building some email lists for some of you guys specifically right now. We have the SEO one almost finished. So you guys can have a year's worth of follow-up and not have to create that from scratch. But we're coming up on time here, Chris. So I'd love to hear just like folks who want to learn more about you. I know you got a YouTube channel. I know you got some cool swipe files. I know you got an email list. Tell folks how they can get to some more of your down-home goodness.
Yeah, if you go to orz.co, that's ORZY.co, you can grab a free copy of my print newsletter. It's a digital copy you'll get. It's like $100 a month, but you can get the first issue for free. And that'll teach you all about how to find hidden money in your email list. And then you get my emails, and hopefully you like them.
Yeah. Amen to that. We'll put some links for you guys to make that easy to find, because I know you guys are internet marketers and you got too much shit being thrown at you. So we'll make it easy to find, easy to click. Chris, we appreciate you coming on here and doing this, my man.
Thanks so much, Frankie. Appreciate it.
Hey guys, if you like this video, you may also like my best-selling book here, Beyond the Agency Box. It is all about scaling a digital marketing agency while eliminating meetings and phone calls. We actually sell our stuff phoneless. We don't have any client meetings, and we also hire our team entirely without meeting phone calls, which allows us to, you know, like actually kind of live a life. I've laid out the entire blueprint and everything you need to know, getting clients, onboarding, setting expectations, scaling, building a team, you name it. It has been a bestseller on Amazon now for over 5 straight years, but now you can get it even cheaper than you can get it on Amazon. So I can't tell you the exact price because it may change when this video is released, but there should be a link to it below, either in the description of the video or as well as a pinned comment. So if you're interested in that, check out that video and you can get a copy for super cheap.